What's up, guys? Welcome to today's live stream, Monday morning. Now, I know it's not technically Christmas time anymore, but let's keep the holiday spirit going a little longer. What do you guys think is too is too far into January to have a Christmas tree in the background? Or should I just keep it here all year? What do you guys think? If you think it's a good idea for me to keep this tree up all year, put a 1 in the chat. Technically Christmas time anymore. All right, there's a delay. Let's see what we got. All right, guys. So today's live stream, we're kind of changing up the timing on this. And today, there was a product that I wanted to give you guys today, but the team, it's not exactly where I want it to be. And so instead, we'll do a Q&A, and we'll take any questions you guys have about the platform, the launch, what we're building, what we're working on. And if you guys don't have any questions about the product, then we'll do trivia. We'll do get people's hot takes on how I set up my office for Q1, whether we should keep the Christmas tree up or not. I know at least one person says keep the Christmas tree up, which I love. Christmas trees are awesome. But guys, like I said, pop in the chat if you guys have any questions about any of the launches, any of the products. Let me also get Arman in with us. Arman, I don't know if they can see you here yet.
Hello, hello.
Ho, ho, ho. What's up, Santa?
Not much, dude. Happy New Year, everyone. Great to be back.
It's good to be back. Okay. All right, these guys are going to watch as I figure out how to use Ecamm Live for this. Okay. Arman, how did we do it before? It was like, okay, you're here. All right, that's you. And where am I? All right. Almost.
It's a good question.
Why does it say guest 6 in the middle? Remove. All right, let's try it again. All right, Arman, you're in the shot, but you're too far on the left. Could you
screw myself over here?
Yeah, there we go. A little better.
Beautiful.
All right. Happy New Year, guys. Welcome. We did it. Man. Arman, what are you most excited about for the new year?
Honestly, man, I'm super excited about the products that we've been launching and the market segment that it's really opening up for us, right? Because I think a lot of the pain points or frustration people have with Search Atlas when they first sign up for it is that it's too complicated. There's too many things to do. There's too many tools. I don't know where this tool is. I don't know how to do this thing. And, I don't blame them. It's what, 60, 70 individual products and all these different very specific workflows that unless you really know the ecosystem and where every tool lives, it's really hard to immediately go there and find this is what I want to work on. This is how I get value out of this thing. So the fact that the agents exist and can run and orchestrate and execute all of these different workflows, it makes the platform more accessible to literally anyone, whether they have never done SEO a day in their life or they're seasoned pros that know exactly what they want to do. So compressing that time to value to me is like the most exciting thing. And I'm really just, I really just want to see how that shakes out into the new users and the existing users that are interacting with the system.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, well said. I think that has been one of the hardest parts of adopting the Search Atlas platform is that it's a really powerful growth system. And to install all the pieces and then operate them used to be something that would require quite a bit of training. You remember when we ran some of our live events and we're teaching people in these workshops how to use the tools, we would
Yeah.
spend an entire day teaching content, and that's going into
Yeah.
content genius and how to use it and then how to publish with it and the topical map tool and then the domain knowledge network. It was a lot.
Exactly.
And now,
Yeah.
if I'm not like wrong, in the last challenge, we did that entire set of systems plus more in one day. And we could have gone even faster because now you're able to move at the speed of your
Yeah.
language and what you can think about rather than the UI, click, 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 all the stuff that you had to do before. So, yeah, that is a
Yeah.
huge game changer.
That's exactly right. And even if you're in, a lifelong Search Atlas user and you know the ins and outs of it, sometimes you still forget, oh, I forgot to update that setting or check that box or use that semantic refiner or whatever it is. But now it's like the agents just got your back. So, yeah, I mean, I use the agents now more than anything. Like I don't actually press any buttons anymore. I literally just have dictate mode on and I'm just like, okay, what's my portfolio looking like? How's this client doing? How's this account tracking in LLMs, right? All these different things. And the agents just give me quick, consistent feedback. And it's honestly great.
It's a game changer for sure. I've been using it to help run parts of the Search Atlas SEO campaigns. And what really impresses me is how, as fast as I can think about what I want to work on, is almost how fast I can go. Yeah, the agent needs to do some processing, it needs to gather data and, do its work so it can actually get through the execution stages. But just the speed at which I'm able to operate and run the SEO campaigns is insane. Just being able to create like 20 backlinks, that used to be what would take like a VA almost like an entire day. Like that was their task, or
Yeah.
maybe an afternoon. Now it's just an aside. Like I can run that while I'm talking to you. So that's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I think's really interesting for me is like it's training and flexing a muscle for me that was definitely underutilized, which is just prompt architecture, prompt engineering, right? Like literally over the weekend, I was working on this content revision agent, right? Where it's like scanning the website, looking at all pages, which pieces of content are underperforming, which ones need to be revamped. Why did they need to be revamped? Explain the confidence interval, break all, and literally it's turned into like a 5-page multi-phase playbook that I'm like using my own workflow. I'm using some of our team's process docs, and I'm building and stitching together this playbook. But every time I come up with a new prompt, I'm testing its output to see, did something break? Did something not function the way I intended to? Did it skip a step that I needed actually user approval on? So in addition to making my workflow easier, it's making me a better AI marketer just generally of how I use AI for any different application, even outside of the context of Search Atlas. And I think that's really important for the direction our world is going over the next couple months.
Yeah, for sure. And the big thing for me that I've kind of struggled with is like how much automation, how much autonomy do I want to let the agent have versus how much control do I want to take? And it's for me it's the same way like when I'm hiring people onto my team. In the beginning I give them this much rope and then I give them a little bit more and then a little bit more, a little bit
Yeah.
more, right? As I
Mhm.
as I trust them and as I can see they can handle it, then they get more. And I think that's the same way that we have to work with these agents. In the beginning we want to go into give them as little autonomy as possible while they're still useful and slowly give them greater and greater amounts as we feel more confident about their behavior and how they're working. And some of that is a technological thing where we're improving the technology so we can give them more autonomy.
Mhm.
And some of it is also personal, like you personally. And
Yeah.
I talked to Eric Caldwell about this. We were talking. He was sending me some information about like how his experience has shifted using the technology. What he told me was that originally he was being very prescriptive and really telling it exactly what he wanted it to do. And as he got more comfortable with it, he started shifting more to just letting it be autonomous and letting it make the
Mhm.
choices. And I was looking at one of his chats, this thing was massive. It was so big that it was like breaking his Chrome. That's literally how long his chat history was with it. He spent like
Yeah.
many days just basically doing on-page optimization. And through that process, he was able to fully fix the site, the technical SEO on the website, all the way, the content issues, everything he was able to get resolved. But when you read through the chat, essentially it was him prompting and asking questions that someone who is doing on-page optimization and knows what they're doing would be asking, right?
Right.
So it requires, like, to use it that way, you asking it and answering it and kind of guiding the process. But do we need that, right? Can we actually pull away a little bit and say, let the agent make the choices, let it run the technical SEO campaigns. It already has all the training. It already knows how to do everything. It already knows our business. So let's let it make those choices more autonomously, and maybe certain types of decisions like publishing content or buying links or whatever,
Hmm.
then ask. But otherwise, just evergreen, get to work. Like, get useful things done
Yeah.
on all my projects, and whatever I can run safely without breaking anything, I should enable all of that, let that go, and then some of the more complex stuff, right? Step into that. So
Yeah.
that's, I think, where we're going to be going with this. We have something coming for February for the challenge that we'll run, and it's called
Hmm.
AgentSpace, and essentially it's essentially the glue that's going to connect these pieces together so we can run these agents in an autonomous system, while also giving you visual controls so you can see how the behavior works, and even flowcharts and workflows and diagrams, stuff you can build on top of and hack on. So I think that'll be really big.
Yeah.
Just letting you guys know that's coming. We will do like a live announcing it, and a whole challenge around it. But that's something I think you guys should be really excited about. It's going to be a big launch.
Agreed. There are a couple things that you touched on there, Manick, that I think are actually quite important. Like, I definitely agree with you. When we first rolled out the agents, even testing them, I was like, before you do anything, just ask me, right? And I had this constant feedback loop of like the human in the loop conversation with the agent. But after I worked through like 10 websites, I was like, okay, this title tags, metas, alt image, don't ask me. You're doing great. You know what I mean? And the things that were I did not want the system to override were on page content for like landing pages or location pages. And I didn't want it to just blow my hyperdrive credits based off the most aggressive strategy that I recommended, especially when I was working on, let's say, Search Atlas. Obviously, it's a very competitive website, very competitive industry. So the aggressive package for the agent is tens of thousands of dollars, which we don't mind spending, but I didn't want to just give it freedom to spend 10K a month without me even looking at it, right?
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
think even the content piece of it, not to let the cat out of the bag too early, but the BrandVault that is going to be released in sometime in the near future, that to me is the piece that's going to allow me to be 100%. Hey, you don't need my input now because you have this vault that is already trained on my company. So now you can produce content without me second guessing it. So I think that's the piece that's really going to increase just let the AI do its job.
yeah. BrandVault, for those that are unfamiliar with the last challenge and what we were doing there, is it basically allows you to bring in all the context that's needed to really understand a business into the agent's brain. And it gets this information from multiple sources. One is the crawl that we do of your site. So already when we run auto with the site auditor as well, we're crawling the website. We have all your information. So that's used to train the model. But also we have your chats. So all of the chats that you've given, and you've put instructions about your campaign and your likes and dislikes, that also goes into the brand vault. We also have your first party data, your Google Search Console data, your GA4 data. That's going to the brand vault as well. And you can add in PDFs, you can add in other documents, you can add in those manual sources. We actually developed it because one of the clients we were working with, they're a large multinational company. I'm not going to say who. Large multinational. This is a different one than the plumbing one. And what these guys had, I think it was a clinic, right? They were a clinical operator all across the United States,
Mhm.
and each clinic
They're
was
in the
different
addiction space. Yeah.
in the addiction space. Cool. So each clinic different, and so the challenge is when you're managing a site like that, knowing, okay, the clinic in Miami versus the one in New York City versus the one in California, what services do they offer? What time are they open? What is the cost of those services? If I'm going to make supplemental content around this location, what should I make it about so that it's relevant and connects back to what that location actually does and specializes in? Because that's what they want to rank for. So to do that, the way that this was done previously was you just take a whole bunch of data around the website and you try to train it into the LLM, a custom LLM. But that doesn't work well at all for this. It causes terrible hallucinations. And so what we figured out was how to build a semantic search engine around the business. So that BrandVault is nothing but a semantic search engine around you and all of your data. You can put in whatever data you want into it, but we will use that as like a search engine for your content. And we will ask it questions when we're generating an article to find out what services does this particular location offer, and who is the master technician on site, and who is the owner, and all that information is actually being extracted from the semantic search engine that's being built for you and your website to make the content better. And the initial experiments with this, like the team, they were like, this is 99.9% perfect. Like it was that good. It made such a huge impact on the quality that, the team was just like, wow, I can't believe that we got it to this level. So I'm excited for us to roll that out. The BrandVault is gonna come first. We already have the system working. Now we're just building these semantic search engines for literally every project in the system. And that's a lot of data. Yeah, it's also kind of expensive. So we have to do that first, and then we can roll it out to give it to you guys. So that's what's going on behind the scenes. Um, if anyone was curious and wants to try it out and see how it affects their content generation, you guys can reach out to us on School and let us know, and we can enable it for a couple accounts, maybe 5 to 10 people max, and get some feedback from you guys. So if you're interested in using BrandVault right now for content generation, just let us know. All right.
Yeah.
Let's take a couple questions. So Rizard, I hope I said your name right, my friend. Rizard is asking, can I use Search Atlas to find leads? I'm assuming leads for his marketing agency. Arman, what would you tell him?
Yeah. So I would say absolutely. I would say you should run what's known as a prospecting playbook inside of Search Atlas. So if you were on our AI Search Summit, you would have got the masterclass of how to do this. If you were not on our Search Summit, it's okay. You can still use that playbook inside of Search Atlas. So you'd have to essentially create a project, select the use the Atlas Brain, and then use a playbook called prospecting. And it's going to be, there's two in there. I share my screen, Manick. I just think you need to promote my screen here. Cool.
Oh, there it is.
Perfect.
But they can't
so
see
yeah,
us,
you would actually, so you would initiate the agent. You'd go to all playbooks and then just search for prospecting, and you'll see two prospecting playbooks. One is the local business prospecting playbook, and one is prospecting, but just not for a local business, right? So it depends on what your agency is. You would pick either one of those. Here's like a chat conversation for what this actually looks like. So it finds the URLs, it enriches them with their contact information, it localizes it, it builds the 3-step email sequence, adds data to that email sequence, writes all of the copy for you, allows you to prove it, and then you literally just hit the go button, right? So this is an interactive workflow that is tied to our digital PR tool, which would be down over here. So there is a dependency here, meaning that you have to connect and inbox. So that way the emails can be sent from you or from your agency domain to make sure that there's that connection between who the person is emailing and the brand that's pitching them the services, right? But yeah, it's actually super easy. You'd literally just hit Atlas Brain. You'd say, I want to choose, this project. You'd go into playbooks, just search for prospecting, and then initiate the local business prospecting or just a prospecting playbook. You can edit this, you can modify it, add more email sequences, modify the copy, things like that. But it's actually super easy to do prospecting.
That was easy.
Inside of Search Atlas.
So easy.
Yeah.
Really easy. So run that. And what's important there is you want to put in enough keywords so that it can find enough prospects for you. So it's going to use Google search to find businesses that are ranking that you can then prospect in email. So depending on what your niche is or what your local, if you're locally focused, however you approach it, you'll be able to find the right type of leads for your business, reach out to them. And we've used this very successfully for ourselves as well. I mean, the last challenge, I think we presented like 3 or 4 case studies of that.
Yeah, because that workflow can be used for business prospecting, but also for publication or PR prospecting purposes, right? Really, all you're doing is changing the messaging and the target audience. But the fundamental system powered by the AI agents can be used for various types of outreach or prospecting, if you will.
Cool. Let's answer this other question, which is the Search Atlas LLM AEO GEO visibility offering. How does our product position relative to the market? This is a good question. So there's a lot of layers to it. I can start, and then Arman, you can continue. But the first level of it is that tracking your visibility in LLMs, it's an expensive thing to do. To track it using good software, it's not going to be cheap for you. And so what we wanted to do is build all the advanced capabilities into the platform and give you guys more quotas and more credits and just be more generous with it than all the other vendors out there in the space. So one of the things that we do is when you set up a project, we have our own prompts that we create so we can analyze the project in multiple dimensions from its LM visibility. And we don't charge you for that. I think you get like 25 or 30 that we just analyze and process. So for any project that you set up, you automatically get free prompts to track, right? And we do that automatically for you. On top of that, you can add your own prompts to whatever you want to track. And from a quota perspective, you get a lot, like way more. I think it's like 3x, 4x more, the quota. So that's important. The other thing that's important is to create your prompts to track the LM visibility. These other tools, frankly, suck. Like you have to put your prompts in by hand, one by one, load them in. And then if you miss something or you forget something, or if you don't know what prompts to track, if you don't have the framework, then what are you going to do? You're going to go and come up with stuff off the top of your head. And we taught an entire day dedicated to LM visibility and guided inquiry as a framework for getting found more inside LLMs. You would have to go and recreate that framework inside the LLMs or these other tools, which you could, but it's not a lot of fun. Alternatively, what you could do is just hit the playbook that we created for you for this purpose, and it will use your business, your products, your offerings to figure out what prompts to track, plug them into the system for you agentically. So you literally have to press one play button, review its outputs, and just you're good to go. And now you're getting LLM visibility tracking set up for you. We can also look at the pricing page and show you guys the pricing options, how that works inside the platform. That might be a good thing to show them, Arman.
Yeah. And, just to reiterate one of the points that you made there is like a lot of the other tools that are in the LLM space, they know that it's the hot topic right now, right? Like everyone wants it, everyone needs it, everyone's curious about it. But they also know that no one really knows how to price it. No one really knows what's fair from a pricing perspective. So a lot of these platforms are definitely overinflating the pricing. and they're treating everything as like it's an add-on to your existing subscription of, right? So like you're already paying $400 for your platform, and now you want AI visibility. Well, it's another $400 or it's another $800, right? Or they're charging you by project or by account. So it's actually quite frustrating to price it out. The other big thing though is that it's not, other tools are not tied to solving the problem for you. Like, okay, you have this poor visibility, you have this negative sentiment, you see the cited sources that your competitors have, you see where your citations are missing. Now what? Now you got to fix that, right? You have to do outreach, you have to create trophy content, you have to do guided inquiry induction, you have to do all of these things to improve the shit report that that tool just showed you, right? Well, that's where we're markedly different, is by executing the playbooks that help improve that visibility and sentiment after you understand that there's an opportunity.
That's actually really big, because just doing LLM visibility tracking, okay, great. You can see your visibility. Amazing. But what about doing something about it? And there's no platform on the market. And we're 18 months, 24 months ahead of everyone else out there in terms of the capabilities. We've been building this for 8 years. We have this vision for 8 years that this is what we wanted to do. And so we have 8 years ahead of everyone else, right? In building all the capabilities of our platform. So authority building, being able to tap into those top tier news sites and publish to them, being able to access 50,000 publishers that you can publish to for as little as $30 that have traffic, that are ranking inside ChatGPT and Gemini, Claude, etc. You have all that at your fingertips. No one else has that.
Exactly.
So our offering, the way it works is on growth, you get 2 projects included, pretty much like one per auto project you get for the LLM visibility tool. And in these packages, you get on the growth plan 100 user generated queries that you can plug into the system. That is on top of the 25 or so that we plug in for you automatically for each project. So even if you don't want to use any of your user generated queries, for our guided inquiry framework, we're plugging in a bunch of prompts and queries that we know are important to track the brand's visibility for its core products, for its core service, for some comparisons. So that's how we come up with those 25. So we get a nice wide spectrum signal of ranking and visibility inside LLMs that you don't even have to pay for. And from a data refreshing perspective, we on the growth, you get every 3 days. On Pro, you get it daily, and you get more LLM models as well. So on growth, you're getting ChatGPT, Gemini, and Google, and then on Pro, you get all of them, including Grok, Perplexity.
Yeah. And just to kind of clarify or reiterate what Manick was saying is, when you first create a project inside Search Atlas for this tool, we preemptively create different topics for you, right? So it's typically 5 to 6 individual topics that get created automatically. And each one of those topics have 3 types of prompts that get nested under each top level topic, right? So a topic is something like local SEO automation. A prompt or a query are the things that are being tracked explicitly under the topic level. And what our system will do by default is it'll come up with 3 categories of prompts for each top level topic. So the 3 categories of prompts are going to be branded. Like, does Search Atlas offer Google Ads with AI? Yes, it does. Does Search Atlas do LLM tracking? Yes, it does. Those are branded topics. Then it does the competitor comparison, like Search Atlas versus SEMrush, or alternatives to Search Atlas, or alternatives to Bright Local, right? Things like this. And then the third category is brand agnostic, user intent driven queries, like how to choose a local SEO software for multi-location clients, right? So those are the 3 types of queries that get tracked for each top level topic that the system supplies. But then the user can always come in here and hit manage queries and then add new topics. Once the topic is added, they can then add the corresponding queries nested under that. to further enhance those. And you can also upload these if you already have a list from somewhere else.
Yeah, it's really useful because you'll notice some of those questions are branded and not conquesting related prompts. And it's important to know, what does the LLM know about me? When you ask it a question, what does it say, right? And that is a big gap, because a lot of people won't think to put those prompts in. So obviously, like, the part of the logic that tracks and gets the data, like, actually, there's one really unique thing about the way we get this data, is that we're getting it from ChatGPT, not from the API, but from the actual ChatGPT for a pro account. And so there's some important subtleties about how that changes the impact of doing this, from how does it actually impact the rankings or the LLMs, and also the responses that you get. They are different than if you just did it in the API. And so what you're seeing here is actually real. It's true. This is exactly what someone would be seeing if they type this prompt in. Now, obviously, the answers will change from time to time. If we all ask the same prompt today at the same time, we're going to get a different response. But they do kind of normalize around like a central answer. But you'll see that the answers you get here are going to be more reflective of what people are actually seeing.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, lots of fun stuff coming to this, but we'll cover that on one of our other days for sure.
Yeah, there's going to be more stuff here that's launching that we'll cover. Good question. Okay, let's see what else we got. So D. Roger Maeve says, can you review the steps needed to go through research, write, and publish content? So how would they come up with content ideas, generate some articles, and then publish? I think that's a good one that we can answer, just showing the workflow with the playbooks, right?
Yeah, so the fastest way to Manick's point is just with the playbook. So you can actually come in here. Let me share my screen one more time. Okay. So in order to use the agents effectively to run the playbook, you need to have them created as a project, right? Big shocker. You need to have a project created for the system to know who you want to write about.
Yeah.
Now, in creating a project, there are some dependencies, like connecting your first-party Search Console account, your Google Business profile, building a knowledge graph, things like this. To make that process as easy as humanly possible, what we did was created an onboarding agent. So you can access that agent by clicking the app icon at the top right, going to onboarding agent, and then just going through the interactive step-by-step guide to creating your project. If your project's already created, then all you need to do is initiate Atlas Brain, go full screen mode, select the project that you want to work on, go over to content, and then run any of these content playbooks here. And again, it's going to depend on where you are in your website strategy. If you're a brand new website, you have no content on there, it's a thin business that just got created, or it's never focused on content historically, then run this playbook right here called the New Website Content Kickstarter, right? That playbook will do everything from keyword research to competitor research to understanding your local market to referencing your first-party data to referencing your knowledge graph and building the entirety of your content strategy and the content for you within that playbook. If you've already done your foundational playbook and you just need to create more momentum, use the content momentum builder, right? But if you have very specific types of content that you want to be creating, like trophy content for you versus a competitor, or a listicle roundup style, or a review about your product or features, well, pick one of the trophy content playbooks instead, right? So this is going to be the fastest way to do it. If you wanted a little bit more control, you could start your journey by doing a domain knowledge network in Auto, or you could build a topical map in the content tools or in Auto. And once the map's created, you can then selectively create. But realistically, the playbooks are going to be the way to go for this. I would do something like New Website Kickstarter run the playbook, and then just let the system come up with all of the recommendations. You provide some guidance, but the system will do 99% of the execution here for you. The only piece that I didn't talk about is how to publish the content. In order to publish the content, Search Atlas needs to be connected to your CMS. So if your site is built with WordPress, you need to have our installed to be able to publish content from Search Atlas to WordPress sites. If the site is not built with WordPress, meaning it's built with a different CMS provider like a Webflow or something similar, then you would connect using the CMS connectors over here, which would be under settings. Let me just minimize this, and CMS connectors, add connector, and then pick your connector here.
Nice.
Is the onboarding agent you showed me the same as the agent found on the homepage? No. The agent on the homepage is Atlas Brain, which is, think about it as your Swiss Army knife agent, right? That can help you block and tackle anything that you want to do inside the application for a project that is already created. But Atlas Brain in and of itself does not create projects for you. You need to use the onboarding agent, which is at the top right of the screen, and the app icon, and it's titled onboarding agent right here. Okay. And just look at what this agent's been doing while we've been talking here, guys. Like this agent from that playbook took all of these steps, right? It understood the business overview. It's understanding the content strategy. It's looking at, it's exposing to you rather, it's keyword research, it's on-page recommendations. It's literally giving you a step-by-step series of instructions of what it's going to be doing. And now it's actually coming in here and creating the titles, defining the keywords, doing all of the heavy lifting that I would have had to do manually with other things inside Search Atlas. But literally now it's all done and it's just asking me to confirm which content folder it wants to use, right? And then saying, here are 3 pieces of content. Do you want to do 1, 2, or 3, or all of the above, right? So it's literally like, it couldn't be easier to create content at this stage.
So easy. So
That was easy.
That was easy. He says, thank you. Cool. So we got that. All right, let's take a couple more questions. Looking at the time. Okay, so for a USA Today press release, what will be the best bang for the buck? Meaning, what type of press release? So, from a cost perspective, whether it's content format 1, 2, or 3, it's not going to change the cost. It's going to be more from like an impact perspective. So, really, I guess the question is, when we're publishing press releases through Signal Genesis, Arman, what is the most effective content format for the press release is what the question is, I guess.
It really depends on what the goal is of the press release, right? So the way I see it, there are kind of 3 goals that we have when we're doing a press release. Number 1 is to get brand visibility or brand sentiment increased. If that's the case, then I'm going to create content that's more biopic in nature, highlighting the semantic triples of all of the things that represent my business, right? So what is Search Atlas? Who was Search Atlas founded by? Where is Search Atlas based? What does Search Atlas do? What awards has Search Atlas won? The type of stuff that is very clear in the sense that we want an LLM or we want all AI models to know these things about our brand in exactly this structured content format. So for that piece of content is great for building brand sentiment and brand visibility inside AI search results. Then we have this concept of, I want to win in local search, or I want to win for a specific non-branded keyword. That's where the content strategy shifts from being biopic in nature to more topic focused in nature, like best rehab in, or best addiction treatment marketing company in Miami, Florida. And then I would list out the top 5, highlighting myself as number 1. Or I would go very deep on one of my Search Atlas products or features, like Search Atlas leading in local SEO automation for agencies. And I would go really deep on all of those different features, right? So it really depends on what is the main purpose behind the press release that you're trying to create. Is it to just gain branded visibility, or is it to win on a specific keyword or win in a specific market? And that's going to shift which template I would recommend, essentially.
I think it's a thoughtful approach. In general, I think you need to do all of them. You need to do all
Yeah.
of them. So you need the press release that really establishes the entity and all of the attributes about who you are, all the proof, that trophy. We call it the trophy review format. You need that one. And you need the
Yeah.
listicles as well. Although I probably wouldn't put a listicle into a press release. Doesn't feel like the right approach there. I would use it to be more about what the business did, something related to the entity there. And then for listicles, definitely publish the listicles on site. You can also publish the listicles on either a cloud stack or a guest post site that we have that have you connected to. So that's how we normally do it. But you could even do listicles on the press releases. That'll still work. It's just not technically a press release at that point. And so some press release providers, some like newsrooms will say no because it's not newsworthy. It's a listicle, and that's not what they're looking for there. But obviously, with these integrations, you guys aren't submitting it to some middle party that then submits it to something else, to something else. You guys are submitting it directly to the source through us as a channel. That has a huge advantage because there's a lot less review that it has to go through, and you guys can actually get that type of content published, as you guys have probably noticed. So nothing wrong with taking advantage of it while you can. Well, it looks like
Excuse me.
so you're back on the content side of the process, showing them how to generate content. Where do we leave off?
So I didn't even actually have to do anything. Literally, the system was creating my content, and it got to the stage where it's generating the content, and it just gave me the links to actually view it. Right. So when I clicked a link like this one, it's taking me to the editor, and it's showing me that the content is still being worked on. And if I click right with AI here, I can see where it is in the process. So it's scraped my target keywords, which are great. It's built my outline, which is awesome. And now it's producing that content brief. So this is showing you that it's not just spitting out content in the chat for you. It's leveraging the full Content Genius end-to-end workflow to produce high quality AI content that factors in all of these different SEO elements, right? So, okay, just like that, our brief has been created. And now it's doing the last bit of semantic refiners before it actually produces the finished piece of content. But literally, while we're having this conversation, we've already created 3 pieces of content that we can get published to the site.
It's nice. It's amazing when you can have a conversation with someone and work is happening in the background. That's
Absolutely.
so cool. And Arman, publishing in terms of getting the content published, I know you showed all the connectors already, but once you generate the content in here, where can you get this content published to? What are our destinations?
So let's look at a piece of content here. Let's go with this one right here. So this piece of content was AI generated, right? With all of our images, our tables, our charts, our bullet points, 100% created by the system. If I go synchronize, we'll see that it's not synced. If I am not using WordPress, I would click add CMS, and then it takes me to the CMS connectors, add connector, select my connector, and then you just have to follow the instructions based off which CMS that you're using, right? If the piece of content is created and the connector is installed, for example, here, this one is connected with WordPress, I could click the WordPress icon. I would select the website that I want to publish on, like recoverypathmarketing.com as an example. Decide blog post or service page, draft mode or published, or do I want to schedule this post to go live at a different date? Say, no, I want to do this now. I can define my URL, or I can let the system come up with the URL. I can select an author. I can select a category. and I can select a parent folder if appropriate, and then I'll just hit publish blog post. Now it takes a couple seconds, but it'll then go to the WordPress instance, publish that page, and then give me the permalink to view directly in the application right here. And there's a little tooltip video here right at the top as well, in case you've never used this module before. You can just watch that tooltip right there.
Amazing.
There we go. Blog post successfully created. Here's a link, last sync date with the timestamp.
That was easy.
Here we go.
Nice.
Blog published. Yeah.
So this works for WordPress. It works for HubSpot. It works for Go High Level. It works for Wix. Works for a lot of CMS platforms, guys. So pretty much whatever CMS you're on, you can use it for this, with a few exceptions with platforms like Squarespace, which don't even allow any APIs to publish into them. But a lot of capability here, Webflow as well, and Wix in the lower right, and Joomla. So if you guys have more platforms that you want us to integrate with, let us know, and we'll add them. We'll also be adding in webhooks, so you can just send it. If you have a custom CMS, you can send it to your custom CMS. Easy enough. Cool. All right.
Sweet.
See another question. When will Facebook ads come live? Nice question there. We got something that we're going to give you first inside Smart Ads. Stay tuned for that. I believe it's this week. You guys will get that launch, that new product. Once that's done, then we're going to be building on the Meta Ads product. And I'm actually working on that right now with the team. So it is currently in development.
Beautiful.
Now, I guess some CMSs have their own idiosyncrasies. So not every CMS platform supports every type of content. Which is annoying. But ultimately, the problem with supporting all these other CMSs is that we're kind of at the mercy for how they store their data in their own CMS. And so, yeah, I'm not sure about the tables in High Level, but I'll ask the team to check into it. Okay. In terms of the workaround, what I would do is, if you have a case like that, go into your CMS where the content has been published, and go find the module where that information is, and figure out what is it about the formatting that's not playing nicely.
Yeah. Well, you could download the HTML from Search Atlas Content Genius and then take the HTML and apply it to whatever CMS you're using. So that would be the workaround.
Yeah. And really, like, it's HTML. So CMSs that don't properly render HTML, it's just, I don't know why some CMSs have issues with this, but it's HTML content. So it's not rocket science for how to render it, right? But that's good. Okay. Bob also asked a good question, which is, we're generating comparison trophy content. All right. So comparing us to our competitors. What is the effect of you being the author of the article showing you as the author saying you're the best, especially in a press release format, but really any format? How does the fact that you as the author are promoting yourself or your own services, how is that perceived by the search engines? Good question. And, interesting thing about it is the answer may change over time, but at least today the answer is that they aren't doing a great job of basically undoing the bias in that web document. It is obviously clearly biased. We're the ones publishing it. So obviously we're going to say better things about our brand. But the thing is, that type of content, that level of specificity of A comparison to B, is so rare. There's just not a lot of content out there like that that they have tons of options that they can download and analyze. So if you do a really good job in that comparison, you actually have information that the LLMs, that the search engine wants to know, because you're comparing yourself to your competitor on all these specific dimensions. And it's very likely that there's not a lot of content out there that has an opinion. And so whatever you say will be the opinion. There are plenty of case studies out there. People are basically ragging on ChatGPT or other LLMs like Gemini because they are so easily manipulated in terms of their consensus. So these systems, you can kind of remember back to the early days of Google that there were strategies that worked really well. Some of the strategies still work today, right? Keyword stuffing, for example. I mean, I don't think anyone can even fully agree upon what keyword stuffing means anymore, because it's meant different things over the years. But keyword stuffing, if you just say keyword stuffing is adding in keywords you want to rank for into your page, does it still work? Absolutely, it does. If you put the keywords you want to rank for in the page, you boost your rankings for those keywords. So, maybe the strategy, maybe the dynamics around it change over time, but I think it's going to be a golden strategy that's going to work for a very, very long time. Maybe over time they will understand the bias that's there, even in listicles. Obviously, there's a bias in the listicles, but ultimately, the way that I think they're going to solve this problem computationally is they're going to emphasize other sources. So the more sources that have an opinion about what are the best realtors in New Jersey, Bob, the more sources that have an opinion about it, that's the best way that they can counter the bias, is they have to make sure they're doing real-time RAG from Bing and Google to get the data and get other people's opinion of who are the top realtors and use that to kind of normalize your bias. Because there's bias in everything. There's bias in journalism, there's bias in marketing, there's bias in every piece of content, because any piece of information that's provided on the internet, with some exceptions like Wikipedia, but even then they hold out their pouch, please give us money, we're a free organization. Obviously, when you go to a website and you're reading content on that website, there's usually somewhere where they switch the context from giving you knowledge to pitching you and presenting you with their service or product for whatever it is you're looking for. So this bias, it can't be solved in like an easy, highly deterministic way. It's like a very statistical thing that's in all information. So the way that they choose to solve it is through consensus, through density. How often is that opinion represented within all of the options around the answer?
I think it also comes down to like the completeness of the listicle. Like a lot of the times the listicles, if they're too thin and you're only putting yourself number one with a really in-depth review about yourself, but only doing casual mentions to the next 9 folks on that list, it's not good enough. It's not robust enough. It's not detailed enough to warrant ranking well, right? Like if we look at an example of this, let me just share my screen really fast. So a keyword here is like AccuRanker alternatives. There are a few people that are doing this SE ranking. They're comparing the top 100 alternatives. They're putting themselves as number one. They're doing the top 100, 9, 10, so on and so forth. We're right here as well. We did 26 alternatives, right? We have ourselves obviously listed as number one, but we went very in depth against the competitors and did screenshots and interactive, like, here's everything about all of the top people that we're comparing, right? And then let's look at the author. I mean, the author here is, drumroll please, that's a long piece. It's Manick, right? So clearly Manick has a bias as the CEO, CTO of Search Atlas, right? But clearly it's number one, and clearly we're on page one for that keyword. So exactly what Manick said is 100% true there. They're not good at looking at that bias. And even if they do think there is bias, just look at the depth of this article. It clearly adds value to the internet. It clearly provides a nuanced perspective of the top 26 providers here. So it deserves to be seen and viewed by other people, regardless of that, bias or perceived bias.
Because ultimately what the LLM does is it takes everyone's answer to this query and it normalizes them. It figures out what is the most appropriate consensus opinion to present. And not just from this one query, but from the query fan out into other queries where these alternatives, like what's number one, what's number two, can be broken down in more granular level detail. And they can get attributes about each of these brands to understand what is their positioning. Depending on what the user's looking for or their previous queries, they could change the answer. But definitely don't do yourself a disservice and not put yourself number one, because you should. Like, you should do that in your article.
Yeah.
Very straightforward. This is a good question. So when we have competitor, like us versus competitor, do we write the article us versus competitor, or do we do competitor versus us? And I would say there's a couple ways to look at this. If your competitor gets more search volume, more search traffic than you do, it's especially a good idea to put them first. The reason being is that when someone is using that competitor and they're looking for an alternative, what do they type in? They type in the brand space versus. And what Google's then going to do is an autocomplete and find what are the verses that are out there. You will have the highest semantic relevance, highest semantic match to the user's query if you align with the query itself, starting with competitor versus. So we always do that. We don't do it the other way around, which is search atlas versus them. No, we do them versus us, because what we're trying to do is get the traffic for people that are looking for the alternatives, and those pages will also rank for the competitor brand a lot of times, like close to the bottom of page one, or sometimes like mid page one, but we get a lot of traffic from those. Those are really good pages. It's a nice, like, more advanced question there, but that's how I would approach it. Is I would always go competitor first. All right. Some nice questions today, folks. Good questions about the platform and the different functionalities. Arman, anything else you want to cover before we close this session down and we'll pick up tomorrow?
Nothing explicitly that I want to cover. I just want to reiterate that, like, use the agents. They're there for strategy and execution. So if you just need like an idea, someone to sound your ideas off, like in a whiteboard sparring context, agent's great for that. If you're like, hey, I'm short staffed, I just onboarded 5 new clients, I have this deadline I need to hit, I have no idea how to even approach solving this problem, there's an agent for that, right? And that's what you just have to ingrain in your head. It's like, I know people are very accustomed to their workflows and, no, this is how I do it, I don't want to change. And it's like, sometimes you need to change, you need to evolve, you need to grow. And becoming better prompt engineers, I know that sounds like a fancy term, but it's just becoming better at talking to AIs to get what you want out of them. That's what it means to be a prompt engineer. I just flex that muscle, because that is the way the world is changing. Every platform you use over the next 5 years is going to have an agent in it, and they're going to be more ubiquitous. They're going to be more commonplace. So the better you can get at using them earlier, faster, better than your peers, building playbooks that are unique and differentiated to your use case, that's how you remain competitive. That's how you have your differentiators, right? How many people use GHL? Do every single person who uses GHL get the same output out of GHL? No, right? That's why there's GHL agencies that specialize in, hey, this is how we're going to set it up. Think about Search Atlas like that as well, right? It's a platform, but the way you maximize the value and carve out your differentiator is how you use that platform. And instead of creating 50-page SOPs for your team, create 5 playbooks that no one else has access to. Easy.
Yeah, I want to double down what Arman said. It's important. And I actually think you guys are really early to this. Yes, this is definitely the future. I think we can all feel it. We can see it. When you see the capabilities, you see what it's doing. There's no way that this doesn't redefine the digital marketing approach. This is it. But there will 100% be a need for the race car driver, the guy who, or gal, for some tuning in, that understands the marketing channels. The execution surface of the agent is what I call it. Execution surface simply means what where's the agent executing its changes? That's your CMS, that's the marketing platforms, that could be ad ecosystems. The more you understand about those platforms, the more knowledge you have, the better your positioning is going to be. And I would say equally important is the more you can synapse with the machine, the more you can understand what prompts to give it, what playbooks to give it, really optimize your experience around it. That's going to pay dividends. And this is something that we're doing every day. We're working on agent to make it faster, better, more intelligent. But the more you learn and get confident in working with it, the better you're going to do. I remember my first time driving stick shift in India, actually, Arman, and probably it's where you learned too, right?
Yes, sir.
And
Absolutely.
first time was rough. I'm not proud to say this, but I have burned out a clutch before of a car, and literally the hood was like steaming. It was like bad. In the beginning, new things are uncomfortable, and I know that a lot of seasoned SEO veterans out there will feel some kind of way about this, where they'll say, we don't like the fact that this is executing our job, but you need to look beyond that. It's not your job. Your job was never to click the button. Your job was never to, make the manual process manual. Your job was to get the outcome. And this is just the evolution about how we use tools to achieve a better end result faster with less money. Cool.
Absolutely,
I think with that we'll be ready to close. For those, and I know this question has been kicking around quite a bit. When do we plan to release the website builder? Let me check the launch plan. Next week. Yeah, so that's going out next week. We got 4 launches for you guys this week, starting tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and then next week we've got another full week of launches. Now, I know there's only 12 days in like 12 days of Christmas and stuff, but we're such a big fan of Christmas that ours is more like 20 days. You get a whole extra additional 8 days of holidays. So that's something we can all be happy about. All right, guys. And for now, we are out. We will see you guys tomorrow for day 11 of the 12 days. Thank you. Of the 20
See you
days,
guys. Bye.
whatever days. Bye, guys.